everyone, and welcome to episode 61 of My Mom Sandy. We are your hosts. I am Josh Fasten, and the woman next to me, she says 8 o'clock, but she really means 8:07. This is My Mom Sandy.
Yeah, so, whatever. I mean, what, are you going to punish me?
I mean, wubba lubba dub dub,
I had cats to feed, and I had to get this thing. I'm actually trying to do an order for grocery pickup for tomorrow, so I had to put that in the side thing. So
what are you getting?
Hopefully, what am I getting? I don't know. Stuff for my mom, soap, stevia, some salmon for my. Anyway,
that's like a shirt: soap, stevia, and salmon.
That's right. The 3 S's. It's toxic.
So we haven't talked for. I mean, I don't know if we've talked this week. How's everything? Everything going?
I don't talk. Everything's okay. There's some people that have gotten vaccines. How did your father do, by the way? No problems?
Yeah. So Dad got his COVID vaccine. I checked in with him the other night. No problems. He got his first shot.
Does he feel immune?
Oh, I think he feels safer. I think he said that he had
He shouldn't.
Yeah,
not yet.
I think he said he had soreness in the arm, which seems like it's a pretty standard side effect, But I don't know, I mean, look, I talked to him the other day about it, and I think where we are now is either you get vaccinated or you get COVID, right? Like there's no. This idea of like, oh, well, I can probably go another year without getting it. Like, I mean, it's just spreading like wildfire and everybody's getting it. So I don't know how you move on from this point without getting it. So, what are your thoughts? What are your feelings? Because you're not really, you've said it on the podcast before, you're not really a big vaccine person.
No, I'm not. But now I know he's gotten it. My, Nancy neighbor and her husband went and got it yesterday. I spoke to her today. Excuse me. She just says she feels like she got hit in the arm with a baseball. Mm-hmm. So she's planning a riverboat cruise on the Rhine. I know, Europe this summer. So, anyway, so I don't know. I mean, I'm leaning more towards getting it, but I don't know.
All right. Well, I don't want to say too much information, You
have a connection?
I've got a connection for you. If you want to get it, we can get you in and out.
Is it the Pfizer or the Moderna? Do you know?
I think it's the McDermott. It's number 56 on the LA Kings, Curtis McDermott.
Well, this Johnson & Johnson one's supposed to come out soon. And they say that its efficacy is only like 85%, but they think that it's good against the South African variant, which they're not really sure if this one that we have. They think it's good against the UK variant, but not necessarily the South African.
I mean, look, here's the thing, okay? Here's the honest to God truth. Nobody knows. Nobody knows anything, okay? So I think that your best bet at this point, get the vaccine. The sooner you get it, you get it, right? I think that the issue is that they're having is people are going, oh, I'll wait. And then they come around and they're like, okay, now I want it. And it's like, well, now it's too late. Now we don't have a vaccine available for you. Not only that, but I read an article earlier that said, and I don't want to do a whole episode on COVID because my cousin Brian's sick of hearing us talk about COVID.
But I have a good COVID story, but go ahead.
But like I read an article earlier that said that there was something documented where some guy, I forget where he was, not in the US, but that he had actually 2 separate COVID strains in him. And I think it was like the Brazil and then the South America strain or something. So now they're like, well, now we think you can get 2 different COVID strains at the exact same time. And it's just like, all right, well, that's the whole thing, right? Is it like, I think
we're fucked. We're just
well,
fucked.
Right. So, and that was what I try to want to avoid. I try to want to avoid having, every episode be like, yeah, well, we're fucked, but that's what it's starting to seem like is that if you're not out getting the vaccine and you haven't already had it and maybe have some sort of antibodies that are going to help with at least some of the strain, it's not looking good. I had a client call me last week and was basically like, yeah, like my whole family has it. And I was like, do you guys have any idea where you got it from. And he was like, no idea, you know? And they're like,
how many people in his family? I mean, what are we talking?
Wife and two kids. And then she's pregnant with a third right now. So, you know, last time I checked on him, it was, you know, mild symptoms, and obviously that's like the best case scenario. You know, you want to hear about people who are like, yeah,
we're not talking about Paige, are we? Because I just
no.
Okay.
I'm talking about a client of mine. So yeah, I mean, I think that's, you know, that's the scary part of it, is that, you know, we're getting to that point now. I mean, look, I'm
sure those kids go out and stuff. I mean, they've got to go somewhere. I don't know how old the kids are.
They're younger, so it's not like they're like going to the beach with their friends and shit, you know? So look, I've been double masking when I've been going out. Fauci says actually we should be wearing 4 masks.
Right. You know what? Fuck Fauci. That's what I have to say. I don't believe him anymore. Can you give me a
wubba lubba dub dub? Can you give it to me?
Wubba lubba dub dub.
Thank you.
Wasn't there a after that?
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
A big burp.
Everyone who watches Rick and Morty is like, Sandy's a fan.
I'm really not. I just saw it on another show. So anyway,
look, I don't know. I just think that.
Oh yeah, my brother and his wife got their vaccines last Friday as well.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
I mean, you know, I just think that I think it's a situation that if it's available for you to get it, I would say get it. And I would say, you know, I don't want to say, oh, cross your fingers and hope for the best, but this, I think right now is our best chance, right? It's not putting, you know, the virus into the body. It's not, you know, it's literally triggering an immune response, which is going to help the body, you know, make this thing not have, you know, horrible symptoms, you know, if you were to get it. Because that's the whole thing, is that you can still get it. You can still get COVID.
You know, and you can transmit
it. But, you know, but it becomes a thing where it's like, okay, well, now we have far less people who are winding up in the hospital on ventilators.
Now, if you can still transmit it, then, you know, like I still wouldn't be able to go visit my mother unless she got the vaccine.
No. And that's like, but again, this is a step in the right direction, right? Even if you got it and you were like, you know, you had the side effects or I'm sorry. If you got the second dose and you had the side effects where you were like sick, or you got the second dose and then later on got COVID and then had like a headache for a day, I would much rather hear those stories rather than I got COVID, don't know how I got it, and I've got to go, you know, Ed took me to the hospital because I can't breathe. And then it's just this, you know, spiral of shit.
You're the one who's going to drive me to the hospital because I can't breathe. You've already had it, so you're probably safer to be around.
Me and Peter just tossing your body in the back of the
Peter hasn't had it.
I know, that's true. He's got a hazmat suit on. What kind of car do you have? Jeep Compass? Range Rover? Hybrid?
A CRV.
CRV, yeah.
I can't believe you can't remember that. So what have you been doing? I haven't talked to you. Like, I saw that. I think you might have gone hiking on Sunday.
Yeah, I did a hike with my friend Peter. So what's your COVID? Because I want to get off the COVID topic. So what's your COVID story?
The new thing is the new anal swab test.
Oh yes, I saw the anal swab test, which is funny because I feel like China might be listening to my mom saying it, because I think we talked about that in like a past episode. We were like, oh yeah, it wouldn't be funny if they swabbed buttocks.
Have you seen the thing between Andrew Cuomo and Chris Cuomo it was on CNN News sometime where I think Andrew picks up this big, huge Q-tip. It's like, you know, it's like a giant size. I mean, like huge. You haven't seen that?
No, but I did see a photo of like, it looked like Chinese medical professionals. They were like sitting with like a dummy, and the dummy was like
bent over the chair. Yeah, they did. They did a whole video of them demonstrating how they actually do the anal swab. Yeah.
I mean, I gotta say, what a fucking. I mean, you know,
I'm wondering if they're just like telling us that for, you know, to bullshit us. Like, would they want to humiliate us?
Like, what a fucking weird.
We gave you this virus, and now not only is it bad, but now the only way you can test for it is anally. Can you imagine like the Dodger Stadium testing site?
Well, I'm thinking about like the place that I've been a whole bunch to go get tested. Like how weird. You know, like, I mean, look, I mean, I think we talked about it last episode. Like, I'm getting to an age where like eventually I'm going to have to get like a prostate exam, and like I'm not looking forward to that, let alone going every 2 weeks and like pulling my pants down in a fucking high school gymnasium and having, you know, some nurse swab my butthole, you know, like, it's
well, and the thing is that I think that if that's really the way that you got tested, people would not be rushing to get tested.
Could you imagine like
they'd be like, no, I'm not, you know, I got 103 temperature. I'm not going to run over to Dodger Stadium, whip out of the car, whip down the pants, and bend over the hood.
You don't even have to get out of the car. You just like stick your buttocks out the window. Just
there you go.
With your
That's
pants
even
down.
Better.
Could you imagine like a couple 22-year-old girls are like, I don't know, Emily, what do you want to do Saturday night? And it's like, I've got my COVID test on Sunday morning. They're doing anal swabs now, so I can't go out too late. And she's like, oh my God, anal? Okay.
Okay, let's do it.
Wubba lubba dub dub. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, really. Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't know.
Apparently, they say that it detects that you can increase the detection rate in infected people because the traces last longer in the anus than they do in the respiratory tract.
Yeah, I mean, look, I just had a conversation because there's been all these reports that have come out that talked about how like gut health is something that they think might be related to how severe your COVID reaction is, and that the healthier like your microbiome and everything in your gut, that the less severe your COVID reaction is if you get it. So I was just like, okay, I was like, well, I should probably get on a probiotic. And I actually talked to our friend Caitlin because she had done some like food. She was like a food, what are they called? Like a food person, like a natural, anyway, whatever. So she was like, hey, I'll order you some of these probiotics. It's like kind of like a good, like all around probiotic. And then I was talking with someone else and they were like, she was like, oh yeah, I go to, you know, I see my naturopath, and, which is like cool. Like I'm starting to be, not to say that like doctors are garbage, but I think there's something about like treating things with, you know, the homeopathic way and natural and stuff. And I think it's cool. And like, so she was basically like, yeah, you know, when I went to my naturopath for the first time, they run all these tests, and then they'd kind of find out like how your body's, you know, how it ticks, you know, more so than just like, oh, here, get this blood work done. And she was like, one of the things that, because I had asked her about the probiotic she takes, and she was like, oh, well, I take like a very specific probiotic that was like suggested for me for my, like, because I'm missing a certain probiotic in my body. So I take this one. And I was like, oh, that's crazy. How do you know? And she's like, well, when I first started seeing my naturopath, like they have asked, you know, they do this thing where like they send you home with this like styrofoam container or something, and like you poop in it. And then like you send your poop in the mail. And then she was like, yeah, they ask you to like poop in it. And then for like better results, like to stick the little tube or the styrofoam like in the fridge, and then wait until you poop again, and then you get a little poop from both poops, and then you send that in the mail, and then they like test it, and then they find out about
our poor mail service. No wonder they're so slow at what they do. They don't know what they're handling.
Willie, is that another bag of poop? Oh yeah, this is poop. This is poop, Jack.
This one smells bad. That's gross.
But I thought it was very interesting. But I had that same thing where I was like, I don't know if I want to like handle my own poop. You know, like I'm interested in that whole concept, but
I mean, can't they just take blood?
It's different though, because this is coming straight from your digestive, right? So it's, you know.
Yeah, my mom's had issues with different things. What we don't really know what they are, but she's actually gone to what do they call it? The immune doctors. I can't remember what they're called. But they actually work on your immunity, and that's one of the things they say to do is to take a probiotic. She was taking one. They sell them at Lindbergh. That you have to refrigerate most of them. And the ones that we buy, that I bought for her, were individual push-outs, because every time you open the bottle to take out another pill, you actually lose some of the potency of what's left in the bottle. They're very sensitive, the probiotics. Like if they're shipped somewhere and the heat like they'll lose their effectiveness. And
yeah, like these that I know that Caitlin had ordered for me. By the way, Caitlin, where are my probiotics? They come in like a package with like dry ice, and like it keeps them like, maybe it's not dry ice, but they're definitely like refrigerated in the package,
Yeah.
So I don't know, just food for thought.
Like I said, I mean, because I had to do some research on it when my mother was ill once, and then when we put her on the actual probiotic. And so, like I said, I know for a fact that every time you open that bottle, so you get a bottle of 100 and you're only taking, one a day or whatever, you're opening it a lot of times.
100 times.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I'm just not, I don't know if I'm not too crazy about having anything stuck in my butt. Like that idea I'm not into that idea. Yeah. And I mean, I guess maybe like, and yeah, I mean, maybe this would have been a different ballgame for sure it would have been a different ballgame if like back in March or April, they're like, okay, so we figured out how to test for this thing, pandemic, COVID-19. By the way, it has to be an anal swab. Like, I don't, and then like, can you do home anal swabs? Like, are you calling what's his name to come over and like anal swab you, and then you're like, you guys anal swab each other?
Okay, now it's your turn.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, I don't. Yeah, no, I don't think that's. Like I said, if that's the only way that people were going to be tested, there's probably millions of people that would have never gone to get tested.
You know how many cocktails I would have to have before I went to like the testing site?
Really? Give me a drink, please.
It's like 8 a.m. I'm just like, all right, we'll take another martini, please.
Well, apparently they did in China. They did at least 1,000 teachers and school children have been subjected to the anal swab. And then what I read is that they actually took people off a flight from somewhere into a Beijing hotel, and because they thought that there was a person on the flight who had been exposed to somebody.
Yeah, could you imagine? Could you imagine?
So they swabbed everybody anally and nasally
with the same Q-tip.
Well, see, that's the thing is the article that I read, there was some comments that were left by Chinese that actually have done this, and one of them said it's low risk of harm but high risk of humiliation, and the other one said that he was so afraid that the nurse would not change out the swab after she did his anal swab, that she'd use the same swab on his nose.
Could you imagine though, like you're on a flight, and they're like, we'll be touching down in the city of Beijing in about 15 minutes. Weather is a warm 75 degrees. Make sure that you put your jacket on. It is cloudy today. Sun is hidden behind the clouds. Chance of rain later this evening. By the way, we're going to be transporting all of you guys to Hotel Beijing, where you'll be getting anal swabbed. Enjoy. And you're just like, oh, well, you know what? Actually, this was not in the brochure. I'm going to pass on this. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no, thank you.
Well, you know what? I don't think you have a choice if you live in China. And let's hope that it doesn't come down to that here, where you have to,
like Biden gets on TV in front of like the podium and he's just like,
I'll show you how it's done.
And he's just like, okay, so just to fix where we're at, we're just going to start doing anal swabs. Doesn't this make you feel like, because there was like this movie that just came out, I think it's called A Glitch in the Matrix, and I wanted to watch it, but I think it's like on demand. But, it talks about how we're just living in like a giant, it's like a Truman Show. Like we're living in like it's not real, right? Like this is literally
the aliens are watching us.
No, but that like, this is just a, what's the fucking word? It's a
facade. It's a facade. It's a,
yeah, kind of, but that's not the word. But like, and so they're like, all right, let's see what happens in episode fucking, 2/1/2021 with the pandemic now. And they're like, oh, I know. Let's introduce anal swabs,
But it's all fixed.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Right? I mean, like somebody knows the plot before we go there.
100%, yeah. Glitch in the Matrix.
So anyway, and then I read a couple interesting things on Twitter.
Simulation. That's what it was. That we're living in like a simulation.
Oh, there you go.
Or a facade. That could be it too.
On Twitter, they had a couple things where somebody posted, it said 2020, 14 days to flatten the curve. 2021, 5 masks and anal swabs.
Oh, horrible.
and then another one wrote, no doubt big tech will adopt this policy too. Only way to get verified in the future will be to send Jack an anal swab.
Who's Jack? Oh, Twitter.
Jack Dorsey.
Jack Dorsey,
yeah. I thought that was interesting. That's right. That's how we're going to do it from now on. Anyway, yeah, I thought that was. I'm just, and I watched the video of the dummy getting anally swabbed, and it just didn't look like something I would want to do for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't even. I mean, I just, I go to the doctor for a physical every year, and he's just like, all right, well, drop your pants and let me touch your equipment down there, and I'm like I don't really want to do this. This isn't fun, like. Good
thing you're not having a baby.
Yeah, I'm not cut out for that. I give massive kudos to women that I mean, I think just women in general. I mean, men have it easy, like. Anyway.
Okie dokie.
Did you hear that Screech from Saved by the Bell died?
I did.
44 lung cancer, stage 4 lung cancer.
Oh, wow. Did you hear that the world's 10 richest people in the world have made $500 billion since the beginning of the COVID?
That sounds about right. Is
that fucking crazy?
Yeah, well, I mean, sounds about right.
Yeah, I was never a Saved by the Bell fan. Were you?
I mean, I had my moments. I definitely watched it, but I think that
Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, I think from my age group, I think it was, definitely. It had a moment, and I think also, I mean, the 80s and early 90s. Also, I think that there was, part of every kid my age growing up thinking like that was what high school was going to be like, right? Like, I'm just like, fuck, I want to be the Zach Morris, and like my buddy AC Slater, who's like the jock. And then there's like kind of like the nerdy girl and the popular girl. And, yeah, I remember one episode, like Zach Morris was just like a fucking dick. Like that guy was just like he was like, which one
was he? The blonde?
Yeah, the blonde. He would like be like dating Kelly Kapowski. And like there was one episode in particular, he was just like, they were like kind of on again, off again. He's like, so do you want to like go steady? And she's like, well, let me think about it for a night and I'll get back to you. I'll give you an answer tomorrow. And he was just like, okay, Kelly, and then like the school Bayside gets like a new nurse who's like this like complete babe, but she's like, she's older.
Yeah.
Zach's like supposed to be a high school student in the show.
Yeah.
And he thinks that like the nurse is into him. So the next day, like, so he like goes to the nurse's office and he's like now fucking completely infatuated. So the next day, Kelly's like, hey, Zach, I've got an answer for you. And he's like, what was the question, Kelly? And I was like, what a fucking dick. Jesus.
Yeah, because the school nurse is going to do it with you, bud.
I'm like, oh,
sure.
She's going to anal swab you for that COVID.
Maybe that's what all high school kids think, though. High school boys. The older woman, the hot teacher.
No, I never thought that. We had a very pretty teacher in what grade was I in? Maybe 8th grade? Was it 8th grade? No, wouldn't have been 8th grade.
What did she teach?
Science, I think. Maybe it was 8th grade. I don't know. Anyway, regardless. And I remember me and one of the kids, because we had like wood shop. So maybe it was high school. Was it
Gas Tiger?
Yeah, it was Gas Tiger. Yeah. And she was a babe.
She was cute.
She was super cute. She had to have been maybe like mid-20s or whatever. But like, and we made her like, so stupid. We like made her this like giant wood coffee table
I remember.
In wood shop.
You paid for it and everything, didn't you?
Yeah, like we had to like buy like extra wood or whatever, and like. And I just remember like taking it up to her class, like me and this other student who like partnered with me to do it. Yeah. And she was like, oh, it's a coffee table. Like, I just like, could you imagine being like some like, mid 20-year-old, you probably like live in like an apartment, or maybe you like live with like your boyfriend or something. And like, you just bring up this giant fucking wood coffee table. She's like, what the fuck is this?
Was it nice? I mean, did you guys do a good job on it?
I mean, it was nice. I mean, but like, it's still a fucking
kind of a weird.
I mean, it ain't something.
Gift.
Yeah, it ain't something from fucking Crate and Barrel, that's for sure. I mean, it was a high school student wood shop coffee table. I mean, very basic.
Did you talk to this guy when you partnered with him to? Did you guys talk about how hot she was?
I mean, it was known that like she was an attractive teacher, but like I never had the thing.
I mean, can you believe I knew her name?
It was good. That was a good pull. There was never a part of me though that thought at. I don't know, whatever age I was, let's just say 14, right? Like there was no thought in my head like, oh, maybe I will impress, like maybe we'll date, right? Because it was like
Yeah.
I'm gonna give her this table, she's gonna ask my phone number, and then she's gonna call, and my mom's gonna be like, Mrs. Gas Tiger's on the phone for you, you know, like it's not gonna happen, right?
Yeah.
So like I knew that was not a thing, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there was no, you know, look, I even remember being, I don't know, 16. Yeah, because I would have driven so maybe I was 16, 17. I remember going to this like this place on PCH to get my hair cut a couple times because my buddy, one of my friends was like, dude, you got to go see this girl. She cuts hair at this place on PCH. I think it was like when you stopped cutting my hair. And I remember like, you know, going into this hair salon and, you know, it was a very attractive woman. And again, she had to have probably been like mid to late 20s, you know? And I just remember like, and I would use this like Murray's like beeswax in my hair.
Yeah.
And my hair was so waxy. Like you almost had to wash it like 2 or 3 times. And I remember her like washing my hair and then she would rinse and she's like, oh, I can kind of still feel I'm going to give you another wash. And I was like, oh, she totally wants me. She totally wants me.
She had her boobs in your face while she was washing.
Yeah, because it wasn't
her hair.
like the new shampoo bowls. It was like the old ones where like you had to kind of stand over the person, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So yeah, you know, I'm 16. I've got boobs in my face. She's washing my hair 2, 3, 4 times. I'm just like, she's going to ask me out on a date. And then maybe I can make her a wood coffee table.
And now that you're a hairstylist, you're like, there's no fucking
so
way.
ridiculous. So ridiculous.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, you know, so how did we even talk about Saved by the Bell? Yeah, so like again, I knew, you know, as did, you know, the friends that I was with, like it was very well known. Like she was a cool, young, pretty teacher, but I don't think any of us was like, oh, maybe she's gonna date us. You know, like
I'll bet there was somebody. I bet there was somebody in your class who thought.
I mean, maybe, but I mean, it wasn't like me and my
maybe
friends.
the head of the football team or something. You know,
yeah, I don't know.
quarterback. You know.
So anyway,
stud.
Screech, he was 44.
Yeah, I just read a little bit. I guess he was like diagnosed like 3 weeks ago or something.
Yeah, I guess he had like pain he was like in Florida or something. He had like pain like basically all over his body. It was like something doesn't feel right. I guess his mom had cancer and he had gone to the hospital or the doctors and they diagnosed him. You know, by that point, I mean, stage 4 is pretty brutal, right? Like,
well, I heard it was I didn't know, excuse me, I didn't know it was lung cancer. I heard it was a melanoma, which is, excuse me, a really fast spreading type of cancer. So I don't know. I always thought a melanoma was a skin cancer, but I don't know.
See, hold on, let me, it was, hold on, I'll tell you right now. You know, it's funny, you like pull up one and it pull up like an article and it just says the fucking exact same shit that you know.
Well, because they all get it from the AP.
Stage 4 small cell carcinoma, which is commonly referred to as lung cancer. We were told the cancer started somewhere in Dustin's body and metastasized in his lungs. So yeah, bummer. I mean, you know, he kind of in and out of the spotlight over the years. I think that, you know, is probably
hasn't he kind of been troubled?
Yeah, you know, look, I always thought this. It can't be easy to grow up in the spotlight and to be like the dork or the nerd, right? Like that was his role for however long Saved by the Bell was on. Like, and you know, he was never like on the show. He was not the cool kid. He was not the football player. Like he was the dork, you know? And I always thought, I'm like, that's got to do like a number on you. 'Cause you don't ever, those years are so formative anyways, right? And you're coming up and you're not able to kind of like find yourself because you're being told who you have to play, you know? So there was a part of me that like always kind of felt bad for him because I was just like, man, that had to have been tough, you know? But yeah, he was kind of always, you know, in and out of the spotlight for troubled kind of stuff and did a lot of those like kind of hack, like celebrity shows. So So, 44 is young. It's a bummer. It's a bummer when you hear about that, regardless of who it is.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if he was married or anything like that, but
I think it said he had a girlfriend that was by his side and that he did not suffer. It kind of sounded like he just maybe like gone to sleep. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Which takes me into my next thing, which is what I wanted to talk about on this episode, because we're, we.
Oh, I thought we were done, but go ahead.
Is that it? All right. Well, hey everyone, thanks. We'll see you next Saturday night.
All right. Very good. Yeah.
So I watched this interesting thing on Netflix. Oh wait, so we'll get into it in a moment. I watched this interesting thing on Netflix, I think last week or the week before, and I talked about it, I think, on last week's podcast very briefly, but there was this whole thing called like Surviving Death, and it basically talks about, like, there was an episode that talked about near-death experiences, and I just wanted to kind of get your, pick your brain on it, because, now we're talking, we're talking about aliens, and we're talking about, there's a Netflix thing coming February 10th about Elisa Lam and the Cecil Hotel. It's like a special on Netflix, and I was like, that's right up me and my mom's alley. So,
they've got this new thing now, Discovery
Plus.
Yeah, it's like a streaming service or something.
Yeah, basically every network is like starting streaming services, and you can only get like the good content on the streaming services.
Well, I've seen advertisements for Elisa Lam on that as well. It's they show the excuse me, on the advertisement they show the whole elevator thing.
Yeah,
it's like, I'm still trying to figure out what's going on there, but
yeah, I heard there was this great thing where it was, cause I listened to this podcast about it the other day. It was like Unexplained Mysteries, and there's a whole one, like 50 minutes about it. And they go over these like theories that it could have been. And one of them is like, I guess there was like this Korean elevator game, which is like it's like a thing. I don't, hold on, cause I'm going to get it wrong. So let me just look it up really quickly here.
It's a real thing. What is this, an explanation for what she's doing?
Yeah, because they were like, we don't know why she's so frantic, like on the elevator. Hold on.
Yeah, maybe people don't know what we're talking about.
Hold on. Okay, hold on. Just hold on 1 second here.
I mean, if you haven't listened to our past episodes faithfully.
Okay, here we go. So the summary of this basically is there was a woman. We had a whole episode where we talked about, it was one of the Sandy Fasten PI episodes, and we talk about Elisa Lam, who was this college student who stayed at the Cecil Hotel, which is now called the Stay on Main Hotel, which is in LA, downtown LA. And she was, I think, a Canadian student, and she goes and she stays in LA for a few nights. And it's kind of like a hostel style hotel, like shared bathrooms, shared rooms. Anyway, she ends up going missing. And she's found, I don't know, a week later or something in this fucking water tank, because the people who are staying in the hotel were saying their fucking water was like coming out black and like smelled like shit. So they go up and investigate the water tanks, and she's like naked in the tank, dead. And there was all these conspiracy theories about what had happened, because there's a video that had come out of her getting in and out of this elevator. It's like a surveillance camera, security camera.
Yeah.
And she's getting in and out of the elevator. She's pushing all these buttons, and it looks like maybe she's talking to someone, or she's kind of like trying to get away from someone. Very fishy. I think my theory still to this day is probably the best, is that she met a man, maybe one of the guys that worked at the hotel. They maybe had a nice dinner in her room. He was maybe interested. She was just like, this is a nice guy.
Let's go swimming.
They're like, she's like, can we go to the pool? He's like, we don't have a pool at the Cecil Hotel. And she's like, what kind of hotel is this? And he's like, we have water tanks,
Yeah.
They go up there.
Come on, Josh.
They put on their, he has his board shorts. He has his trunks. She's like, I didn't bring my swimsuit. He's like, it's okay, babe. You can just go naked, right? She gets naked. She climbs the ladder. She gets in the tank, and then he panics. He's like, I shouldn't be here. And he just leaves her there, and she can't get out of the tank.
And she can't get out of the tank. Yeah.
So
okay.
I listened to this podcast. So it's a very interesting thing, because it's still like her death is, I think, still ruled like an accidental suicide or something, and it's just fishy. It's weird. And if you guys haven't seen the video, look up Elisa Lam on the internet, and all this shit will come up. But anyway, Netflix is doing a thing on it. February 10th, they have like a special about it. But this podcast I listened to basically had this whole episode about it, and one of the theories was that she was trying to play the Korean elevator game, which I'd never heard about. I had never heard this theory.
I never have either. Let's hear what it is.
This is the the Korean elevator game. This is kind of like the thing where if you were to like, you know, you've heard of like the Bloody Mary thing. Like you go in like a dark room with like a mirror and you like say Bloody Mary 3 times in front of the mirror. It's like that kind of thing, like an urban legend kind of thing, like a myth.
Yeah. What's supposed to happen when that?
Okay. So here we go. So this is going to take you into like an alternate world or like another world, maybe an alternate dimension. So you get into the elevator alone. Okay. Or you can get in with friends, but like no like randoms, right? You do not get out on any of the floors. And if any outsiders get on the elevator, you need to start over. It like resets the elevator game.
Okay.
All right. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to proceed to the 4th floor. Okay.
Yeah.
Then you're going to descend back down to the 2nd floor. You're going to go back up to the 6th floor, return to the 2nd floor, go back to the 10th floor, and then go to the 5th floor. And when you reach the 5th floor, it's then that people report encountering a young woman. Now, you're instructed not to look at or interact with her. She may or may not try talking to you, asking for help, or antagonizing you. Then you're going to press the button for the 1st floor. Now, 2 things might happen. If the elevator descends to the 1st floor, exit immediately and do not look back or speak. If the elevator starts to go up, you've been allowed into the other world. Now, when you reach the 10th floor, things might look slightly different because obviously this is a different world. No one else will be there. The power might be out. And some of the players claim to look out windows and see only a red cross in the distance. In my head, I would like this to be like a neon red cross. If you choose to exit the elevator, you should ignore the woman's attempts to question or stop you.
Okay.
So that's kind of, and then, so essentially you've made it to the other world. So if you choose
what do you do? What do you do once you get there?
So so now this just says,
how do you get back?
So this just says, if you choose to stay in the elevator and not explore, just press the button for the 1st floor and return home. You might have to keep pressing the button to get it to work, you know. If you choose to get off the elevator and explore, there are a few rules to follow in order to properly return to your home world. You must use the same elevator you used to arrive in. You have to follow steps 2 through 7, finishing on the 5th floor. So the floor sequence is 4, 2, 6, 2, 10, 5. When you reach the 5th floor, press the button to return to the 1st floor. The elevator will attempt to return to the 10th floor instead, but begin pressing other floor numbers to stop the elevator before you reach the 10th floor and proceed to the 1st floor again.
Ooh, that's kind of like what she was doing.
That's what I'm saying. Upon reaching the 1st floor, check your surroundings. If anything seems off, even the smallest detail, do not get off the elevator. Repeat step 2 until things look normal. Once you're confident you've returned to the real world, you can then exit the elevator.
Well, she was, you know, there is in the video footage, she is, you know, pressing, it looks like all the buttons. It's like, what the hell, you know?
Well, that's what they were saying. They think that she might have been playing the Korean elevator game.
Okay, so can you play the Korean elevator game and get the same results at any hotel or in any building?
Yeah, my understanding is that you can do that basically anywhere and it'll take you to another world. I don't recommend trying it.
Oh no, I couldn't even remember the sequence of what you're supposed to do or how to get back.
Could you imagine
I'd have to write it on my hand to make sure that I got back okay.
Could you imagine like it goes up to like the 5th floor or whatever, you're like 2 steps away and someone like gets on from like their dentist's office, you're like, sir.
Oh damn.
Sir, I'm in the middle of something right now. I'm going to need you to get off the elevator.
No, it's somebody already got on. You've got to start all over again.
Yeah.
That could take forever. Well, you know that hotel, this commercial on this Discovery Plus streaming service for this particular thing, they're talking about how what's the guy's name? Ramirez. He was
Richard
like
the Night Stalker. Yeah.
Yeah, he lived there for a while.
There was a couple serial killers that worked there, or I'm sorry, that stayed there. There was a talk that they had hired. A lot of the staff were like transients and sex.
Yeah, it wasn't a good place to stay. And
I don't think it's a good place. I mean, all those fucking.
I think it houses homeless people now.
Yeah, there's a lot of like seedy fucking hotels down there, and I would rather sleep in my car than stay in any of those hotels.
Yeah, but not downtown LA. I wouldn't sleep in my car downtown LA. I'd be afraid somebody'd smash the window and
take you.
take my car. They wouldn't want me.
You're like, look at the CRV. This is great.
Really? Look, it's brand spanking new. Well, it's got a few little dings here and there, but speaking of that, we have that Ring doorbell, and I don't know if you ever look at any of the motion stuff, the motion alerts.
I think I stopped when I moved out because I was just like, well, I don't need to see this stuff.
Well, there was like a weird man here on Sunday morning. He was here like 3 times, and I don't know exactly what he was doing at the end. It looked like he was like, he was at the trash can, and like the first time it was like 7:45 in the morning, and it looked like he opened a trash can, and then he walked away. And then, the stupid Ring, I mean, what does it record you for, like 20 seconds?
Yeah, I think it's 20 or 30 seconds, yeah.
Crime's over then,
Yeah, I don't think, I think if I had to do the whole, because I mean, when we got it, that was the only kind of doorbell that I knew of. But I think if I had to do it over, I would not have gotten the Ring. No, I don't think that they make, I think their products are a little flawed. So.
Well, I don't like the fact that so I saw him at 7:45. I saw him at 8:15. He came back. He opened the trash can. He walked away with like a white, a white bag or something, which he didn't get out of the trash can because there's nothing in there. And then I saw him again at like 8:30, and now he's like doing something on top of the trash can, like, I don't know, rolling a joint, rolling a cigarette, fixing a heroin injection. I have no idea, but I didn't get to see the rest of it because the stupid Ring doorbell went away. I mean, the recording stopped. It's like, fuck, I don't know what this guy's doing. But it was creepy.
I think they just assume by that point that you are, you've now approached the crime, and you are defending your house.
Well, I'll tell you, I saw a notice last night of somebody who actually got broken into, and they said they called the Redondo Beach police, and the police they're not doing police reports for trespassing or breaking and entering. I don't know what the fuck that means. I mean, I know that's what Gascon, our new whatever the fuck he is here in LA, that's what he said. There would be no, prosecution of those crimes. But I don't know. Do the police still come if you say someone's breaking into my house?
I think I would play it like, oh my God, someone's breaking in. It looks like they have a gun. I can see him on the Ring doorbell. God help me.
Play it out. Really play it up so that at least they come.
It'd be like an I Love Lucy episode.
Really? Apparently they did get a police report written when they asked to speak to the commander. And, so I don't know. If people are trespassing or breaking and entering into my home, you better fucking believe there better be something going on to take care of it. I mean, that's like so not cool.
The cop shows up. I call 911 with that, and the cop shows up, and I'm in like a face mask, and they're like, "Sir, is everything okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, everything's fine. I'm just doing a little face mask and about to brush my teeth." Like, was someone break in with a gun? I'm like, "Oh, did I say gun? I meant there was a guy looking at my trash can."
There was a guy shooting up heroin right outside my front door. I have no fucking idea what the guy was doing, but he was creepy. I couldn't really, he had, blue pants and then a sweatshirt with a hoodie, of course.
All right. So if you're listening, anyone, if you're listening and you see a man in the North Redondo Beach area with blue pants and a gray hoodie,
skinny guy. Not very tall.
Maybe a munchkin.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, so let me ask you, because it's like a hodgepodge of shit here, which is good because we haven't talked for a week. What is your take on near-death experiences? Because I'm curious. Because I watched this interesting. I watched the show on Netflix. I thought it was very, very interesting, and I thought this would be a good talk.
Well, there are.
You have 13 minutes.
There are accounts of people having near-death experiences, and I do believe them. And they have said, like, there's one, and I can't remember the name. There's a book, and they did a movie on it. It's a little boy who was like 2 or 3 years old and had a near-death experience. And when he came back, he described things that he had no clue were even possible. It wasn't like he was like brainwashed or, told from day one that this is what it's like when you die. But he had, he like knew all that stuff. So I believe that. I mean, I believe that they're real. I believe that we, God, I hope we go somewhere besides this when we die.
Yeah, so that was going to be my
give me something to look forward to, please.
Yeah, so that was going to be my other thing, because what they talk about on the show is there's this one very, very like intense story from this woman who I think was a doctor, and she talks about how she was like whitewater rafting or something, and like she ended up like kind of like she couldn't go to the right where like this stream had opened, and she ended up going to the left, and it was like a fucking waterfall, and she like went down the waterfall, and when she had like landed, her kayak had like pinned her down. And like the force of the water, she said it was so strong that like she could feel like her bones breaking. And I think she broke both legs, and I think like her ribs. Anyway, long story short,
Did she drown as well?
Yeah. So they were just like, I mean, she was in the underwater for fucking like 10 minutes or something. Like, it was ridiculous. Right. And it was by chance that like one of the people, cause they were like, we don't know where she is. One of the people saw her life vest, and they thought that it wasn't like, they considered that they were like, she's gone, like we can't get her. And one of the people had seen her life vest and thought, oh, I should grab this and give it to her husband, and it was actually her, and they were able to pull her out. And they said, I mean, like, she was completely blue, right? Like didn't have oxygen to the brain for like fucking 10 minutes or like something crazy, right?
Yeah.
And
she was dead.
And she talks about how she was like,
I've heard this story before.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, I don't remember all the details, but I have heard this.
Yeah, and it was very
as a good proof of,
Yeah, she was like, I'm fucking dead. And one of the things that she says is, she was like, I saw like, this bright light, and it was very calming, and it was relaxing, and everything was like okay. It was she's like, I wasn't scared, and she's like, I was fine, and I forget if there was something where like, because there was a bunch of different stories, and one of the stories, it was either her or another person talking, was just like, okay, like I've accepted this, like I'm okay, and then all of a sudden like started hearing voices, right, and like seeing things, like seeing what was going on like above her, or I'm sorry, below like where she was, like to like see her body, things that like she would have had no way of knowing. Or then someone saying something like, hey, it's not your time, and then going back, right? And then all of a sudden, like waking up in her body, which then I think pushes to the idea of like, well, is it just, are we just like a soul, in a body, in skin and bones and cells, and then, then that brings up a very interesting point of, okay, well, is there somewhere where we go where we're, whether we're reunited with loved ones that we've lost, or does it become something where we are reincarnated and we start over as something else, Yeah,
I just think I'd like to be reunited with my loved ones. I don't necessarily want to be reincarnated and come back and do this again. Especially, like, what if you came back as like a mouse or a bird or
snail.
Something?
You're like a fucking snail.
You're
like,
snail,
this is
I know.
Worst.
Fucking A, really. It's like, seriously? Like, couldn't I just stay up there with my loved ones that have departed before me? Please. Yeah, I mean, what do you think? I mean, religiously, depending on what religion you are, I mean, because I think Buddhists believe in reincarnation. But Christians generally believe that, heaven and hell. And I don't know, according to Peter's mother, Robin, I guess when you're Jewish and you die, you just die, which it's a little depressing.
Yeah, I definitely don't, I don't want it to be I don't want, I can say this for certain. I don't want stuff to just stop. I don't want it to be where you fall asleep and you just never wake up. Like, I don't want that. That to me seems extremely sad, extremely depressing. And I even had the conversation with someone the other day where, I was bringing up the point where I was like, look, I do feel that when you die, you get to go to a place where you are reunited with people that have lost, whether they're grandparents, partners, spouses, parents, kids, sons, daughters, pets. And that you get to see these people and these animals again, and you get to be, the best, and I had brought up Poppy, my grandpa, your father, about, where it was kind of that thing. I remember, I think Uncle Dan, had said something like, what was it? Always 21 or always 20?
Forever 21.
Forever 21. Right. And it was funny because I remember thinking to myself, like, well, I hope that when I'm reunited with Poppy that he's not 21, because I'm not going to recognize him,
You didn't recognize
I'll be
him.
like, who the fuck are you? And that's also not how I knew him. I didn't know Poppy at 21.
Well, I know, it's weird because I've talked to one of my mother's healthcare workers. Susan is very religious, and I was kind of saying the same thing about, being reunited with our loved ones when we die. And she said something like, oh, well, you won't recognize them. You won't know who they are. Something like that. And I'm like, what? Stop it.
Right.
What do you mean? I won't know who they are. Seriously? Like, I want to know, whatever it is, it is. I mean, I'm not going to be able to change that, but I don't want to think that that I won't know these people. I mean, there's specific people that I have questions for,
Oh yeah.
that I want to talk to in the spirit world. However we communicate, I don't know, but, and I'm sure before I go, there'll be more people that I'll want to communicate with, in the afterlife. So
yeah,
I choose, I'm a Christian, and I choose to believe that there is, life after death. And
yeah, I mean, I would like to think that as well as, and more so that these people, I don't want to get too far from this thought, but that the people, not only do we recognize them and we know them, and maybe it's something that, like, they don't look the same, right? But that, like, when we are crossing over, or it's our time, that, like, they're there with us,
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, my dad better be there with me. That's all I can say.
He's like late, and you're like, what the fuck, Dad?
Really? What the fuck are you doing? Couldn't you be here to usher me through?
But yeah,
so I wouldn't be afraid.
I gotta think that is that they're there with us, and that they make sure that it's that the transition is smooth and that we're okay. I mean, look, years ago when I'd had a cat that I had to put down because she was very, very sick, and I told her, I said, I'll see you again. I mean, it's a cat, but I was just like, look, like, everything's gonna be okay, and I love you, and I'll see you again. But yeah, I would like to think that we're reunited with all those people. I'm also not necessarily opposed to, like, be like, maybe you have a choice, right? Maybe you pass on and it's like, okay, so here's this world and everything's great, or you can go back, and you can go back as whatever, right? Because you do hear these stories of people who are like, fuck, I have these memories of, like, being a 17th century fucking philosopher, and you're just like, well, how could you know this shit, right? Like, weird things like that, which brings up the whole, like, reincarnation thing,
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to investigate that a bit more. I kind of feel like, in some ways you can read about that kind of stuff, or and somehow it sits in your memory in a certain way and you recall it in a certain way. I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, maybe reincarnation is what's going on, but like I said, I don't necessarily, and I think in Buddhism, I think that the life that you lead now determines what you are reincarnated as. So basically, if you're like a really shitty person, you might come back as a snail. So I don't want to be surprised at the end.
No, I mean,
I'm a snail, man. I must have really sucked in my former life.
could you imagine? You're like, oh God, fuck, okay, I'm back. Whew, that was scary. And you're like, wait,
oh my God,
I'm really low to the ground. What is on my back? What the fuck is on my back? What is this?
That little boy over there's got a stick. He's gonna smush me with it.
It's like, oh fuck my life, I'm a snail. Jesus.
Oh, God.
I would like it to be something that maybe like you get the choice, and then when you come back, like you're coming back obviously as a human, and you're doing like a second go around. Like that, I think about that sometimes. I think about things that like I just turned 39 in the beginning of January. It's no secret because we talked about it, but I think about if I'd had knowing kind of what I know now, and I guess being reincarnated, you really wouldn't know those things because it's like, oh, I'm starting new.
You're starting brand new.
But there's things that I would have done. I would have done differently. Yeah,
but you're assuming that you're reincarnated as a person. Well, that's not necessarily true.
Right. I would like that. Like that would be
your ideal situation.
Well, how I would want to believe it. Right. Is that you die, you go to this place, you see.
You say hi to everybody.
Yeah, you say hi to everyone, and then and then it's like, okay, do you want to go back or do you want to stay here? And maybe some people are like, or then there's ghosts. Like do you want to be a ghost and not fully cross over? Because
that's a whole nother thing, isn't it?
We really open up. This could be a two-parter.
A big can of worms there, really.
But to go back to the original question, like, yes, I do believe in near-death experiences. I do believe these stories that these people tell. I think it's very interesting that. As far as we've come, this is something that we still don't know much about, or really anything about, right? Like no one really knows what happens when you die, what you see, and and I think that that's what makes it a little bit scary and a little bit because it's unknown, and I think that if we knew, like, hey, it's not something to be scared of. Some of the things that you hear from these people, they do say, they're like, look, when it actually became the time. I was not scared. I was calm, and that's reassuring a little bit, that maybe it's not this, absolutely, the worst pain imagnable and
I know we should set something up, and I'm upset that because, my friend Lisa, who passed away a couple years ago now, year and a half ago, whatever, we used to she was really into like psychics and things like that, and she felt like she had like some power to sense things or see things that maybe others didn't. Like she was sensitive to spirits and things like that. And I'm kind of upset, like, she died so suddenly, and I'm upset that we never talked about like, like if you die, you need to come and you need to bring me a sign. You need to show me somehow that, that you're in the spirit world, that you're, a butterfly or a ladybug landing on my lapel or, and I never did that with her. So you and I need to set something like that up so that, if one of us goes, we can, what do you think?
Yes, there was. I was waiting for you to finish your thought. There, there's an interesting story about, and I'm sure you know this.
Houdini.
Houdini, right? Like, so Harry Houdini, he passed from a tragic accident, years and years ago, whatever. But on his deathbed, he said to his wife, because a lot of his career was not only being a magician and an escape artist, but he also debunked psychics, and he thought that psychics were fraud. And he had these big payouts where he was like, look, if you can demonstrate that, your psychic ability is real, I'll pay you fucking $10,000, right? Whatever it is. And he came up with this thing when he was on his deathbed. He told his wife, I believe her name was Bess. He said, there's going to be a lot of psychics who are going to try to like, prey on you, and what's the word? Make it out like, I've come back and, take advantage of the situation or whatever. Right. And, I want to have, I'm going to give you this code word or whatever, the secret word that you'll know if it's real because they'll be able to pass this word on, or this phrase or whatever it was. So after he passed, she saw psychics. I mean, she visited psychics all around the world. She would have these seances every year on Halloween because that was the day that he passed, and she would try to contact him, and she had seen all.
That's weird. Isn't that weird that that's the day he passed?
Well, I mean, he held on for like an additional 10 days and like died on Halloween day.
Did he really?
Yeah, because he got punched in the stomach. For everybody that doesn't know, Houdini had this thing where he would say he could withstand being punched in the stomach by any man, and he had this thing where he would like basically like flex up and he could withstand a punch from anybody. And he was backstage at a show. I believe the show was in Michigan. And his manager or someone brought these college students back. And one of the college students was like, "Oh, I heard you could withstand it." And he goes, "Yes, I can." And he stood up, and before he was able to get ready, the guy punched him. And it actually ruptured his appendix. And back then, that was, so he did the show. I think he passed out mid-show. And then the train to the next gig, he was like really fucking sick, very ill. And they had stopped to talk to a doctor, and the doctor was like, "Look, we don't know what's going on, but he's probably not going to make it through the night." By the time they figured out that it was an appendix issue, it was like it was too late. I don't even think they had fucking antibiotics back then. But then, they basically they were like, yeah, they're like, he's going to be dead within hours. And I think he ended up like staying alive for like an additional like 5 days, 10 days or something, and died on Halloween. And
it's just a weird day for a magician to die. I mean, of all the days, the Day of the Dead, Halloween. Anyway,
yeah.
So what was the code word?
They don't know. In fact, I believe Bess died some years ago, and she took
took the secret with her.
She took it to the grave. Yeah, but no psychic ever came back, and was even close, from my understanding, right? Which is
you mean they tried to guess the code word?
Well, yeah. I mean, a lot of them said, "Hey, I can contact Harry," and she was like, "Okay, well, Harry gave me this code word, so if you can contact him, I would like for you to give me the code word." And it was never right. So I don't know. I don't know what that means exactly. I mean, I think that's
well, maybe it means that there's really no way for the spirit world to communicate with us.
Well, or maybe it doesn't communicate
directly
in that way, right?
Yeah.
And that's something. And look, I've had a lot of people ask me, because of me doing magic and stuff like that. People have asked, well, what do you think about psychics? And I do think there are people who are sensitive to that, like you were talking about with Lisa. But I don't think that there's necessarily like the fucking Long Island medium, I think, is a fucking quack. I don't think that shit is real.
Why do you think that? I mean, I know you said that you've seen stuff where she hasn't.
Because I think that or like, what was it, Sylvia Brown? I think we talk about her on an episode.
Yeah, she's a flake. But this gal,
because I think that if that existed, I think that somebody would have been able to tell Bess what the secret word was from Harry, right? I think
but the Long Island media wasn't around then. Come on now.
Yeah, I mean, look,
listen, if I could talk to the Long Island medium, I would certainly want to see if she could contact Lisa.
I would be very, and look, if we were
Lisa wanted to do it, to contact her father.
Yeah, and I was going to say, if we weren't in the middle of a pandemic, I would say like, okay, cool, let's go, and this will be a My Mom Sandy experiment, right? And you can set it up.
I wouldn't go to. I mean, I would only go to her. I don't necessarily believe it. I mean, because like Lisa told me, she went like, there's this place down here in Redondo. I don't know if it's still there, but like on PCH and I don't know, near kind of Eda Joe's.
Yeah, I know. It's like a house, and it's like a business, like psychic.
Yeah, psychic something or other. And Lisa's been there before, and she didn't. She thinks that gal's full of crap, but she's also been to other ones that she has felt that were, kind of right on the money. So
yeah, and like I said,
I've never been to a psychic.
I would be interested. I'd be interested to have you just go talk to someone, to a psychic, and and basically just be like, hey, look, I'm not going to tell you anything. You also don't really have much of like a social media presence, so but look, I don't put it past now in the time that we're living, like, I don't put it past people to do their due diligence and do the homework and, find out, you can find out a lot of stuff on social media, and on the internet just in general, to where all of a sudden saying, oh, you have a parent that passed away. It was your father. That all of a sudden isn't.
Well, but see, those are really general questions and general statements. But I think when you get into, do you have a tattoo, or
But I don't need. I want someone to tell me, like,
on your leg, or I'm seeing that you have a pendant that you wear or that you carry with you always, or
that doesn't,
things like that.
Yeah, that doesn't do it for me. I want someone to be like, hey, your grandfather. This is just for, I'm going to say it, but, like, your grandfather used to carry you on his shoulders, right? And you used to put your fingers in his ears, and he's telling me that. Like, I want something like that. I don't want, like, oh, you have a tattoo of him. It's like, yeah, of course, because it's on my fucking Instagram. It's on my Facebook, right? Like, I want, like, these details that, like, that only you could know because he told you,
Yeah. Well, we should try to see if we can't do something with the Long Island Medium. She's actually doing stuff. She's been on that Discovery Plus. I've seen commercials or something, or maybe she's on TV. I don't really watch her anymore because since I lost my dad, it's really difficult to hear other people talking about losing their loved ones.
Yeah, I understand.
It makes me cry. It's like I can't watch this anymore. Before I was really interested, and then after you start losing people that you love, it's like, oh no, now I'm living this grief all over again.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I don't, and I think that with TV, I think that you can kind of set anything up, right? You can kind of, like, because it's not just, the Long Island Medium with a fucking camcorder talking to these people, right? There's producers, and there's fucking directors, and there's consultants, and there's, and it's all, and the people are being screened, and
I don't know now if because now they're doing, like, virtual readings. So
same thing though. It's not just like.
So you think even with the pandemic that they send a video crew out to somebody's home to?
I don't know if they necessarily send a video crew out, but I'm sure that they're not at a they're not shortage. There's no shortage of people who want to talk to the Long Island Medium, right? So what I think is happening is, I think that essentially, if Sandy sends in an email, a producer reaches out. Like, a Long Island Medium is not going to call you out of the blue and be like, oh, can you connect with me on Skype and I'm going to do your reading? Like, a producer is going to reach out. He's going to be like, great, we got your email. We'd love to talk to you. Really quickly, do you have...
This is what we charge.
Right. Here, like, well, yeah, whatever, right? Do you have what's your internet connection? Do you have a computer? Can we get you on Zoom? Can we get you on Skype? Are there certain people that you specifically want to reach out to? Right, like,
we could write it off as a business expense.
There you go. I don't think they're charging. This is fucking TV. I think they're looking for people to be on the show. I don't think they're charging people.
But she also does private readings as well. So not everything she does is on the show. So I wouldn't necessarily need a show reading. I would just like a private reading.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I think that there's probably
I don't need it filmed. I just need it. You
just need the reading.
I just need the reading.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I don't necessarily know how I feel about psychics. I have mixed feelings. Like I said, I do think that people are sensitive, and I do think that people pick up on things. I just don't know if it's the people who are like, yes, here's who's coming. Like, like Sylvia Brown used to be like, oh, I have my spirit guide, fucking Paul, and he's pulling these people for me, and he's telling me about, you're a father, and he has a scarf. He's wearing a scarf. Yes, the red scarf. Like, I just don't know if that's...
sounds like she's at an auction.
Right. Red scarf. It's 1,500, so red scarf. It's four. We got four. I hear four in the red shirt. Okay.
Stop it, Sylvia. I never liked Sylvia Brown. I didn't think she was... And she did predict the pandemic, but it hasn't magically disappeared yet.
And I also think that there's a lot of things that you can say to people who are automatically looking for the closure, right? Who are okay with lukewarm details, and or like, hey, they got a few hits, but they got a lot of misses, but I remember the hits, right? Because it
well, I think that we as human beings, losing people that we love, it actually helps us to deal with the grief. even those general statements, or when the loved one says, you need to get on with your life and don't be sad, and, things like that. If you really believe that that's your loved one talking to you, then, that's all that really matters in a way.
Well, right. And if the belief is that this person is talking to them, then it's believable. Right. And so it doesn't matter what the message, like if the message is a positive one, you want to believe it. Right. Look, and I haven't told a lot of, I've told this to you, and it's written in Poppy's book, but I don't know if I've ever said it on the podcast, but I had a dream very shortly after Poppy had passed. And in my dream, I was at their house, at your parents' house in Palos Verdes. And everybody was there, and the whole family was there. And it was this thing that Poppy was sick. And it was generally known, like, well, Poppy's sick. And I remember walking down the hallway, and it was like a very, very long hallway to get to the room. But in the dream, it was God, it's taking forever to get down this hallway. And he was there, and he was in bed, and he took the blankets off, and he had his boxer shorts on, which is like a weird, because I remember him, like, in the mornings and stuff, like he'd wear his boxer shorts. Yeah. And I remember maybe he had a white shirt on, like an undershirt or something, and he said, and he sat up, and I was like, Pops, I used to call him Pops. And I said, Pops, are you okay? And he said, yeah, he said, come with me, son. And I said, okay. And somehow there was like a door that like went out to the backyard, and they had this very big backyard up in Palos Verdes. And, we were out in the backyard, and he said, will you dance with me? Will you dance with me? And I said, sure. And it's a weird thing, and I remember in the dream, I remember dancing with him, and him saying to me, I'm okay, and it was one of those things where, I remember waking up, and I was like, there was a couple things that I'd felt like, one of which was that, it was the realization that when he passed, that like, if I ever got married, he wasn't going to, obviously he couldn't be at my wedding, maybe that was the idea of like, me and him dancing or, hanging out or whatever. Right. And then it was the thing that like, I felt like it was him telling me that he was okay. That wherever he went, or whatever the thing happens after you die, that he was fine, so I don't know, right? Like, and I don't know what that means. And I don't know if there's something that to be said in that. And I don't know if that was him trying to connect and tell me, especially in regards to you, and because me and you were close, and me and him were very close, and you and him were very close. Or if it was just by chance that I had this dream that.
Did you ever see the movie Joe Black?
I don't know if I ever saw Joe Black.
With what's his name, Brad Pitt, and is it Anthony Hopkins? Yeah, Anthony Hopkins. No,
I don't think so. I feel like I know what you're talking about.
Because there's a scene at the end before Anthony Hopkins dies where he's dancing with his daughter at this big anniversary party or birthday party for him, and then Joe Black takes him. I don't know if you know what the premise is, but basically it's death. Joe Black is death. And so anyway, there's a scene, and that's the dancing. And so when you said that, I've never heard you tell that story before.
Yeah. Like I said, I think if you have his book, I'm pretty sure I wrote it in the book. And I feel like I told you at some point, but I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, it was,
I didn't know that you and my dad liked to dance.
Yeah, I mean, that was a very weird, I was just kind of like, I remember in the dream being like,
But this makes it a dream. This makes it a dream that we're doing something weird. Right?
I mean, look, like I said, I took it as kind of that thing where it was like, maybe this is that because he's not able to, he's not going to ever be at my wedding if I get married, that, and I could see it being in his younger years, I could see it being a situation where, we'd had a couple drinks or whatever. And I'm like, come on, Pops, let's dance. And, I don't know. Right. It was weird in the dream. It was a weird moment, but I think the thing that really stuck with me was him being like, hey, I'm okay. I'm okay. I just remember that so distinctly that, and it made me feel a little bit better. Like, okay, this is, and again, I don't know what that is, right? And this goes back to exactly what we started, which is, the near-death experience talk, which is like, is there something after, right? And if so, what does that look like? Can you communicate with loved ones? Can you, whether it's a dream or something moves? I mean, look, I told you even recently when you were cleaning out your grandparents' house your parents' house when you were getting ready to sell it, I had come up there one day and we were walking down the hall and I was like, oh, that's really weird. And you were like, what? And I'm like, oh, I just passed this bathroom. I'm like, it looked like there was a man in the bathroom. And I think it was a box, like it was like a box stacked up. And it was just that kind of like very quick peripheral, like it just real quickly, like it just looked like a man,
Yeah.
And look, I'm not sitting here saying that like I think that I'm sensitive to this stuff or whatever, because I haven't had these things really happen. But again, I don't know what it all means. I felt I was very close to your dad, and
I've only had one dream about him, only one, and it involved my friend Audrey, which is weird. They had never met, but they met in my dream. And then he left, and he, it was almost like he just came back to meet her, and then he was gone, like he was, he had passed again. It was weird. So I don't know. And again, that's all I remember, but, I don't know. They say that when you dream about people that have passed, that you're in a way communicating with them.
Yeah,
or they're communicating with you.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to think that.
So I will haunt you when I die.
Perfect.
How's that?
It was like, hey, can you turn your computer on? I want to do another episode of the podcast.
Really? I need you to replace the printer cartridge in my printer.
Do you want any fruit salad?
I'm going to the store tomorrow. Do you need anything?
Yeah, I mean, look, I would like to think that there is something there, right? I would like to think that these people are with us, now, and they watch over us, and and that there's something to be said about them coming to us in our dreams, or a little weird, like, you catch a glimpse of a rainbow when you're not supposed to see one, or the little weird things, right? And that is somehow them, saying something to you, right? And I believe in the fact that, people kind of know when it's kind of their time, I feel like you had told me stories that, towards the end with Poppy, that there was times that he was just like, he was kind of aware that like he wasn't okay,
Yeah.
So.
All right. This is like gotten really depressing.
I don't think it's, I think it's questioning. I think it's questioning all of it.
I know, but it just makes me think of my dad. It just, kind of makes me sad.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't think that we can have the.
I'm a lot closer to death than you are, Josh.
No, I know, but you say it's so morbid all the time. But I think that.
No, I'm just a lot closer to death than you are.
I think that.
It's not morbid. It's just reality.
No, but I don't. Look, I think the world that we're living in now is with this pandemic and everything is a scary world, and I think that we've kind of. The media has kind of normalized death a little bit.
To the pressure.
That like, another fucking 1,000 people died. Another 6,000 people died. So I think that sometimes it's important to stop and talk about it, that, that everybody that has passed, it was somebody's father, it was somebody's mother, it was someone's sister, it was a son, it was a daughter, it was a, grandparent. But I think that, we've all had people in our lives that we've lost, or animals that we've lost. And I think that it's important to talk about, those people. And I think it's important to remember those people. And I think that it's important to think about those people. And I think that when I watched this thing about the near-death experience, it really kind of made me question, like, God, what, it's so crazy that they don't know no one knows what happens, and
so how would you like me to let you know?
Well, I don't want to say it on the podcast, because then, I'm going to have Rodman being like, oh, by the way, your mom came to me in a dream last night and she said, she said, all right,
the
very good.
Word is
I'm like,
honeysuckle.
I'm like, I don't know, Rodman. He's like, no, she did. She said, all right, very good.
She swore it. All right, very good.
I'm like,
and then she also said, I'm really sorry that we don't have the same political views.
Yeah, exactly. I love you, and I'm really sorry we don't have the same political views.
There you go.
So, yeah, look, I think bottom line, I think it's safe to say we both believe in not only near-death experiences, but that there's something after death, right? It's not just that we, it's not just like the lights turn off and that's it,
There you go. That says it in a nutshell.
And after 61 episodes is something we can agree on. Look at that.
Looky there.
I'm just kidding.
I know.
We think
I'm so glad. I'm so sorry that we don't agree politically.
Perfect.
But I know that there's some things that we do agree on politically. So,
all right. Well, look, I think that was an interesting episode. I think, like I said, my challenge to myself has been to try to get off the topic of all the mainstream media, social COVID shit that happens every single week and talk about something that's a little bit more interesting and thought provoking and that, maybe people want to hear.
Next week, I want to talk about, we'll see where it goes in this coming week, but that you've heard about the whole GameStop thing with the stock market.
Yeah, I was going to talk to you about it today, but I also think that it's, I don't know. I mean, I've got mixed feelings on it. I've got mixed feelings on the stock market in general.
Well, have you seen the, what is it? The Wolf of Wall Street? Isn't that
Yep.
Have you seen that movie?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure have.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I find it very interesting. I kind of feel like it's the little guy getting back at the big.
Yeah, I think in that sense
giant.
It's great, and I think it's fucked that you have all these big guys now that are saying, "Well, this can't happen." It's like, no, fuck you. You guys have been doing this to the little guys for fucking years. So fucking go eat a dick and sorry, bummer.
Exactly. It's about the inequity between the wealth inequity in this country is what it's about.
Yeah.
And now the little guys found a way to. Sorry you guys got screwed, you hedge fund people, but the little guys found a way to make some money and to make a statement as well. So anyway, we can talk about it further, and we'll see what happens between now and next week.
Perfect.
Yeah, it could be even more fun talking about it.
Really quickly, I wanted to, and I don't want to take too much time because we're way over, but you watched the first episode of The Undoing on HBO?
I did.
Nicole Kidman and Hugh Grant?
Yes.
And
I liked it. It was really good. I watched it with what's his name. I'm not sure if what's his name's interested in watching all 6 episodes. He has HBO at his place, but when you come over to wash your car, we're gonna put HBO whatever on my TV so I can watch them here. I can't see sitting down and watching 5 hours at one sitting.
Yeah,
but,
and I think that's the beauty of it is you can kind of watch it at your own leisure, right? How you want to watch it, right? You can split an episode up in half or whatever you want to do. But I think
I'm in my mind. I'm like, okay, so where is this going? I already knew the gal was going to be dead. Oh, did I give it away?
Oh, and there's a spoiler.
Oh, come on! You find it out in the first fucking episode.
Anyway, it's good.
It's good. Yeah,
you should watch the whole thing because it is great. And what's his name should watch it because it is, it's worth the watch. It's good TV. And right now there's not a lot going on, so
I'll have to tell Susan about it.
All right. So if people want to get a hold of us, they can hit us up on Instagram at My Mom Sandy Podcast. They can send us an email, mymomsandypodcast@gmail.com. We have new episodes coming out every Tuesday. We've been on a fucking roll lately because sometimes we fall off, and but we've been good. And yeah, for everyone who's still listening, we appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. And, we're glad that we can still do this after 61 episodes. And, be careful, be safe, wear a mask, wear 2 masks, wear 4 masks.
Wear 5 masks. Get a vaccine if you're old.
maybe no anal swabbing. And,
yeah, let's stay away from the anal swabbing. I don't think I want the country to go in that direction.
And give us your 2 taglines and let's close it out.
Well, okay. I'm really sorry that we don't agree politically, but I still love you.
Thank you.
All right. Very good.